Prepare to be dazzled. Today we're talking about hinges. What's up everybody? Welcome back. Jason with Ben's Woodworking. If this is your first time to my channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. And if you're not following on Instagram, go check me out at Ben's Woodworking and you'll get to see what I'm doing on a daily basis. If you're somebody that is following me on Instagram, then you'll know that I'm currently working on a set of cabinets that is gonna be for a kitchen island. And currently I'm at the point where I'm gonna go ahead and start test fitting my cabinet doors. This right here will be where the sink is. The sink is gonna sit on top of it. And then it's got two cabinet doors down here on the bottom. And the cabinet doors that I built are these simple shaker style cabinet doors. If you're unfamiliar with how to build these cabinet doors, I'll go ahead and put a link in the YouTube card so you can check out my video on how to make shaker style doors for your cabinets. But today we're talking about specifically installing the hinges and putting them onto the face frame. So let's go ahead and get started. Here's a closer shot of the cabinet. As you can see, I've got this face frame on it, and the one that we're gonna be working on today is gonna be the door that goes over this left side. This cabinet face frame is constructed of 3/4 inch poplar. Now, I wanted to make sure that it's exactly 3/4 of an inch because that's gonna come into play with the style hinges that I'm using. There's multiple different styles of hinges that you can use, but for the face frame application, the ones that I like to use the best are these 3/4 inch overlay hinges from Rockler. They're soft close, they have 110 degrees of opening, and they're really, really easy to use. The other benefit to it is that you can go online or at the store and you can actually print off the specifications of these, and I just think it's a nice addition. And one of the reasons why I think that's so important is because of one of the measurements that I'm gonna talk about here shortly. I've got my door here and it's turned sideways because this is the area right here that I'm actually going to be installing the hinges on. Now, there's two measurements that I'm concerned about when I'm doing this. And the first one is where I'm gonna put these hinges. And I'll figure that out in just a moment. The second is what's called the tab. And the tab is the distance from the hinge itself, meaning this bottom portion here from this outside line to the edge of the wood. And that is gonna be very important when it comes to how much your overlay is. Overlay being however much it's sticking out over the front of the face frame, whether it's 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch. This case is gonna be 3/4 of an inch. So those are the two measurements that I'm concerned about. One of the great things that I mentioned about having this document is if you look down here, that distance, the tab is only 3 millimeters, and that'll be important here in just a moment. So the total height of this door is 17.5 inches. To make things easy, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come 4 inches from each end, and that's going to be the center of my hinge. So I've got 4 inches here, and 4 inches here. Now that's 4 inches from each one of the ends, just so they're equally spaced. Then I'm just gonna extend that line, just so I have a reference. And now I know where my hinges are gonna be placed. The tool that I find really, really helpful when installing the hinges is another tool from Rockler. And you can buy this there, it's not very expensive. And the thing that I like about it is that it has the different tab settings listed. So you got 3, 5, 4, 11, and then if you're doing variable and you need to slide it and move it quickly, you can use those. So these are already set to a tab of 3. It also comes with this Forstner bit and this guide, which I'll show you how that operates in just a moment. Very simple to use. You can open up the clamp right there. You basically slide it onto your workpiece. There's a line right here that I'm just gonna align with the line that I made. Once I have it, I'm just gonna tighten this down and it won't move. It'll stay on there nice and tight. And then all you have to do from there is take the head unit, place this down and drill down in. And there's a depth setting on this, so you actually can adjust it to the depth that you want it to go and drill away. Full disclosure, The depth setting on this thing is actually kind of a pain in the butt to get adjusted exactly the way you want it. Mine is already set because I use those hinges quite often. So I'm not gonna mess it up and check it out. But something that I always do is I practice on a test piece first just to make sure that the depth for the hinge is correct. You can use any piece of scrap wood you really want. All I'm doing is just testing to make sure that the depth is going to be correct. So we'll go ahead and give it a try. Looks like it needs to go just ever so slightly deeper. So I'll make that adjustment and do it again. After some quick adjustments, perfectly flush. Now that I did my test piece, I'm ready to go ahead and drill my 2 actual holes for my door. Now that I've got everything cut, I've got my hinge laid into the door frame itself, I'm gonna go ahead and get these installed. And one of the things that I find really, really useful in this application is one of these Woodpecker's mini squares. It's just great. I just put it right up against the edge so I can make sure that the edge of this is square. Once I have everything in place, I insert my first screw. Put in my second. Make sure they're tight. Still square. And then I move on to my second. So here's a technique that I like to use. It's really easy, really quick. It's not rocket science, but it just works for me. And I'm gonna share what that is. So I know I'm using 3/4 inch overlay doors. Now I wanted it to be 3/4 of an inch everywhere, top, bottom, and sides. So I come up to the top here and I'm gonna find 3/4 of an inch and I'm gonna mark it. Then I'm gonna take that line. Now I'm going to extend it out. So now I have a line at 3/4 of an inch. Now the reason that I did that line is because now I can use that line to reference the top of my door to get it in a rough area that I need it to be. Once I've gotten it in that rough area, then I'm going to put this screw in dead center because it does have the ability to make adjustments. I'm going to tighten it down almost all the way. And now that line is equal with the top of my door. That screw is in the center for in the event that I do need to adjust it. And now I'm just going to put on the bottom screw. Now that I have this installed, I'll just go over briefly what some of the different adjustments that you can make are. The screw that you see here in the middle, that's used to adjust the door up and down if you need to, which again, I made that line just to use it as a reference to get close to it, and then I put the screw in the center of that slot, so it gives me the option to move up and down if I need to, and in this case, I don't. So this screw here is gonna be your depth adjustment, and turning the screw is gonna move the door inward or outward and basically adjust. I'll turn it a little bit. It's gonna adjust how far away it's gonna sit from the door once it's closed or even when it's open, but you can fine tune that. And then in the front here, this one's used to move the door left and right. And by turning it the different directions, once you have your other door, if I needed to shift over just slightly to get the correct spacing between doors, I can use that. And then these switches right here, these are not on all of them. These are only gonna be on soft close hinges. I can either turn the soft close on or off. Right now it's on, obviously. And if I decided I didn't want the soft close feature, I just push it down like so. And that's all there is to it. Installing hinges can be a really, really simple task. It doesn't have to be a daunting task. And hopefully I showed you just how easy it is in this video if you're planning on building something that requires you to put hinges in. So that's all I have for you this week. If you're not already subscribed to me on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you head over there at Ben's Woodworking and you'll get to see what I'm doing on a daily basis. And if you ever have any questions, please feel free to DM me. I will answer them at any time. I'm really on Instagram probably more than anything else. So if you have any comments, leave them down in the comments section below. That's all I have for you this week. I look forward to next week. I'll see you then.